All right. The boundary testing games women play on men. Now, on the internet, you hear certain jargon, or you might hear red pill vernacular. You might hear guys talk about women giving men shit tests. That's not what I'm talking about, right? I'm not really one for all this red pill um, glossary terms and all that type of shit. All right, let me plug the joint right quick. The boundary testing games women play on men. I'm going to tell you guys a story that I either heard on Facebook or I heard on YouTube. I don't recall where I heard it, right? But I'm going to tell you a story to illustrate my point a little further. But before I get into that, right, a lot of guys on YouTube and various other social media platforms, they do a lot of complaining about women, or they call themselves attempting to warn men about the behaviors of women, right? Here's the problem with that, right? When all you do is speak on the negative behaviors of some women, but yet you don't provide a viable solution, the problem with a lot of guys who aren't mature enough to actually look at themselves is they'll just equate what they're hearing on the internet with all women, right? And what a lot of guys don't understand, and one of the things that we talk about ad nauseum, is self-accountability, right? You might hear guys, for instance, they'll say, oh, women need to be held accountable. Okay, now here's my issue with that, right? So when you say women need to be held accountable, right? I'll just use myself as an example. If I'm dealing with a young lady, whether we're casually dating or in a relationship, if she does and or says something that I don't like, and I confront her about that thing, if she's not apologetic or if she's not contrite, right, that's going to cause issues in our situation. And depending on the level of the infraction, it could cause me not dealing with her at all, where I just cut her off and I charge her to the game, right? Now, if I've been dealing with her for a while, if she's not apologetic or contrite, at least initially, right, that can lead to a consequence, right? But here's the thing about a consequence. I'm not going to let off that consequence until one or two things happen. Until the young lady understands the error of her ways, or she just leaves, right? So an example of that is, y'all know I don't really fuck with the makeup sex type shit, right? So in the event that I've had issues with some of the things that, the women I've dealt with have done, I'm on that, I'm not fucking you, right? Right, I'm not fucking you. Now, some guys might hear that and be like, well, women don't care about that. Yeah, they do. Okay, when you're dealing with a woman who cares a great deal about you and you actually know how to sexually satisfy her, you're pretty damn good at pleasing her in the bedroom. Yes, she does care. She does care if you withdraw not only non-sexual intimacy, but she cares if you withdraw physical intimacy. Yes, she does. Right. So, I'm the type where I don't reward bad behavior. So if a woman says and or does something that I got an issue with, I'm gonna bring it to her and let her know what it is. Now, luckily for me, I really haven't had any problem with women being contrite or being apologetic. Even to go as far as to say, my bad, I didn't know that was a deal for you. You know what? Now that you told me, now I know not to go there. Right? So women are most definitely accountable. Right? The problem is guys on the internet want women to be accountable for the mistakes they've made in their life that have nothing to do with them. Like when guys talk about female accountability, they're talking about women rejecting men, women maybe mistreating men that ain't got nothing to do with them. They're talking about women making bad decisions and the men that they choose to date and or have children with. And a woman doesn't need to be accountable publicly about her personal mistakes in her life that have nothing to do with you, right? The only time you need to be concerned with a woman being held accountable is if it's a woman that you're personally dealing with and she's conducting herself in such a way within your own personal interaction that you personally have a problem with. And if she's not being accountable or she's not being contrite or apologetic for something that she said and or did that you felt was disrespectful, then you need to leave her alone. And that's the best way to really show women accountability, is to show them there's ramifications, there's consequences for your behavior. And you just can't say what you want to say to me. You just can't do what the fuck you want to do when you're in my life, right? I'll get you up out of there, right? That's how you hold women accountable, right? You do it on an individual basis with the women that you're dealing with. Trying to go to the internet and have this public outcry that women aren't accountable, that's a fucking waste of time. Because what it does not do, it doesn't teach men to establish boundaries and parameters in the beginning. That's where I'm going to take this particular drop. The boundary testing games women play on men. So about 2-3 years ago, there were some women that were having a pretty good laugh at the expense of men. Now, what these young ladies were doing, right? They would meet guys would set up dates. And these women, and I wish I had the clip. I think it's a clip. I wish I had the clip to show y'all, but I don't have it, right? But and y'all can research, y'all can look it up, maybe y'all can find it, right? So these young ladies were reveling in the fact that when some of these young men they were dealing with, when these men would set up dates, these women would purposefully flake. They would do it on purpose. And the reason why they were doing it, and it was a group of women. I don't recall how many women were in the group, but they would basically be in cahoots when it came to flaking on men. And the reason why they were doing it is because they wanted to test the boundaries. They wanted to see how much they had guys wrapped around their finger. And this is something that these young ladies were saying. I can't really call them ladies. This is something that these females were saying, that they were doing it on purpose, and they were basically sharing, instances with each other. Yeah, girl, I knew when I flaked on him, girl. I knew he was going to be calling up, offering me another date. Girl, I got him wrapped around my finger. Girl, I can do damn near anything. He'll still want to fuck me. All because I got that for JJ, right? This is something these females were saying. So when we talk about the boundary testing games women play on men, a lot of times the boundaries that women test, it's not quite that nefarious where women are going out of their way to play those type of games, but women will test your boundaries on a smaller scale, not quite to the extent of the story that I just told you. So an example of a woman testing your boundaries is if you offer a date and she tells you maybe, I don't know, we'll see, I'll get back to you. Women know this. Women know that if they talk like that or if they respond like that to the wrong man, they'll lose out on an opportunity to deal with that man, assuming that their interest in that man was genuine in nature. They know certain guys they can play games with and certain guys that they can't. Now, on occasion, women will play games with thorough men, solid guys who are gamed up, guys who have standards, guys who don't play, right? And a lot of times what will happen is women will have a false perception of how, let me rephrase and put it like this. Women will have a false perception of the level of influence they think they have when it comes to a particular man. They'll have a false perception, right? And then they'll realize real quick, oh shit, he just showed me real quick that he ain't the one. I can't play with that man like that, right? So when I talk about the boundaries testing games that women play on men, a lot of times what they're doing is they want to see how far they can go. They want to see what they can get away with, right? So a lot of times what guys will do is you will argue with these women and you'll go back and forth and you'll be thinking to yourself, oh, I told her, and no, you didn't, right? All you did was make yourself look like a bigger bitch than what she thought you were. And this is why you don't argue with women. Look, I told you guys the story about the young lady I was dating, and she was late getting ready, right? I was picking her up at her spot. I told her to be ready by a certain time. Not only did she not answer the door on time, but she wasn't even ready, right? So I checked her, right? She was apologetic. She was contrite. My bad. I'm sorry. It won't happen again. Blah, 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 right? I told you guys about a week or so later, boom, set up another date, picking her up. Same shit happened. This time, I walked off. I just walked off. When she opened the door, my back was already turned to her, and I was walking off. She was calling my name. I never looked back. I never mumbled a word to her. I just kept walking. I got in my whip, drove the fuck off. Fuck that date. She lost an opportunity to go out on a date with me that particular evening because I had told her a week before, be ready. When I tell you to be ready by a certain time, be ready to go before that time. If I tell you be ready by 8, you need to be ready a couple of minutes before that. So when I knock on your door, you're opening up the door and we leaving. Right? If I tell you 8 o'clock, not 8:01, not 8:02, not 8:05, not 8:10, be ready by 8. So if I knock on your door at 7:55, you're answering the fucking door because you're already ready. Right? I do not play. Right? And I'm very, very stringent when it comes to that, specifically in the very beginning, because I'm setting the tone, right? I tell you guys all the time, set a woman's expectations of what she has in store if she's going to accept the opportunity to deal with you. Okay, I'm not just talking about sexually. Okay, I'm talking about just overall, right? She should understand the type of man that she's dealing with, right? Okay, any woman that's dealt with me intimately, they already know I'm not about them games, right? If you test my boundaries, chances are you won't see me again, right? Especially if you do it earlier on in the interaction. Or you might get with the young lady that I was dealing with. I was dealing with her for a few months. And you might get what she got, where I just left her hanging. I just walked away and be like, I didn't tell her we're not doing a date tonight. I just walked off. And then, throughout the night, she called and she texted me. And then the very next morning when I woke up, I called her. And I literally said, do you get it now? Do you get it? And I told her. And this is what she said. She thought it was a bit extreme. And I said, no, I can tell you what's extreme. What's extreme is this. I'll never offer you a date ever again. We ain't got to do a date ever again. We can go back to just fucking. Because she was my fuck buddy at first, but I elevated her, right? To where I'm actually dating her. I'm actually vetting her to potentially be much more than someone I'm just dating, right? So my thing is, we can go all the way back to the basement with it, where you're just a fuck buddy. I'm just fucking. Like, we don't talk on the phone. We don't text like we do now. We don't go out. We don't kick it like. I'll take all that shit away. Or you can just walk away and never see me again, right? And I'm telling her this, right? But I'm also saying, don't play with me. Like, I already told you the first time you wasn't on time. And then, she tried to say what some women might say. It's only a couple minutes. I don't care. I don't give a fuck what it is. And let me just say this. Guys, never explain yourself, right? If the woman is confused about something, provide some clarity, but never explain yourself. Because one of the things that I want guys to be mindful of, and I want women to be mindful of, right? If you're setting up a date and you're doing something that's time sensitive, right? The woman knows you set up a date, but it's time sensitive. She might not know exactly what you're doing or where you're going. She just knows she's going to have a great night out with you. But, you selected something that's time sensitive because you're trusting the fact that she's going to be ready by the time that you told her to. Lo and behold, she ain't fucking ready. So now she's fucking with some shit. Right? But as a man, you shouldn't have to explain all of that to a woman. Well, the reason why I want you to be on time is because I got this time sensitive thing that I planned for us. You don't have to do all of that. Just tell it, be ready by the time I told you to be ready by. That's it. That's all. I don't need to go into all these different scenarios of what could happen if you're not on time. No, you're a grown up. You're a fucking grown up, right? The boundary testing games women play on men, right? So another one of those boundaries is when, again, you offer a date and the woman says, "Oh, I don't like that place. How about we go here, or how about we do this?" Now, in defense of some women, sometimes when women do that, they don't understand necessarily what they're doing. Sometimes they do. Sometimes it's a conscious thing where they're using the fact that you desire them sexually as leverage. So you do have that. You do have that group of women over here where they know that you find them visually appealing and they know you want to have sex. So they'll use your attraction for them as leverage to try and get you to do what they want, right? So you do have women that set out to do that, right? But they're still testing boundaries, right? And you might have some other women where they're making certain decisions, right, where they're challenging shit, but it's really inadvertent, right? Meaning they don't understand consciously the ramifications of what they're doing as far as how that can impact your desire to still want to continue to see them. Right? They might not understand the depths of what will occur as far as you just getting rid of her, right? So you do have some women that might do and or say things and they don't realize the depths of the or the ramifications for what they're saying and or doing. And again, you have other women, they will purposely try and test you because they want to see how far they can push the boundary, how far they can step over whatever threshold that may be there, right? And a lot of guys, because a lot of guys are desperate for sex, female companionship, and affection, what they'll do is they will extend the boundaries. They'll be flexible. Okay, this is why I talk to you guys about having standards and having principles. Okay, when you are a principled man, okay, you're not going to let people play with you. Okay, whether it be co-workers, your family members, your homies, or any woman that you're dating, your siblings, whoever. Okay, you're going to establish clear boundaries and parameters. And everyone who knows you already know not to play with you. They already know the lines they can't cross with you. Well, when you meet women, you need to establish that early and often, right? And how you conduct yourself, how you actually act, and how you actually behave will go a long way in women just seeing how you move and they know you're not to be trifled with. The boundary testing games women play on men. Also, another thing that women may do, they may play with the sex thing, right? Look, let me tell you something. If you provide women instructions or a directive, right, and we're talking about things that are reasonable, right? We're not talking about unreasonable things. And a woman just flat out refuse to adhere to that instruction or that directive, right? She's testing boundaries with that. Okay, one of the things I tell you guys is for me, a woman must show me deference, humble submission, and respect. Right? I'm respectful. I'm not going to disrespect a woman, right? So one of the things I always tell you guys is I don't ask women to bring nothing to my situation that I don't already bring myself. Right? I respect myself. Right? I have already submitted to my mission. I've submitted, right, to my vision. I've already submitted to it. Okay, I'm not submitting to the woman, but I've already submitted to my vision, right? My structured way of living, if you will. I've submitted to that, right? I'm disciplined with regard with that, right? I have standards that I adhere to with regard to my vision that I have for myself and my life. So if a woman is fucking with me, she got to adhere to that. She got to submit to that. She got to assimilate, essentially, right? That's why I say if a woman ain't showing me deference, I ain't fucking with her, right? And with that, that's me establishing a boundary. That's me setting the tone, right? So Another way that you set the tone is how you communicate. You tell a woman, hey, take my number, give me a call. She says, I don't take a man's number. How about I give you my Instagram or my Facebook or WhatsApp or whatever else women are doing out there? You tell her no, right? Because you basically told her, hey, take out your phone, put my number in it, right? So already you're trying to set the tone for how you guys are going to communicate, and she's challenging that, right? So, boundaries for everything need to be set, even if you're just having a one night stand. There need to be boundaries and parameters set for that. Okay, if you have a sexual relationship where it's going to be nothing more than just that, boundaries and parameters need to be set for that, right? Okay, no matter what type of relationship you embark on with a woman, you always have to set the tone for the type of boundaries and parameters that you require for a woman to deal with you. The boundary testing games women play on men. Again, you will have some women that will go out of their way to try and show you that if you want to deal with them, then you basically got to jump through some hoops. You basically got to compromise. Okay, you basically got to be accommodating, right? No, 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 no. That's not what we're doing. This is what we're doing, right? You set the boundaries, and if a woman tries to test it, again, you have to assess. Okay, is this just blatant disrespect on her part, or is this just something inadvertent, right? And you, the man, you have to be able to ascertain these things, right? I can't hold your hand and guide you as to what you deem as something that's inadvertent or something that's blatant. I mean, for me, it's obvious, but for you, it may not be. You might have more patience than me. You might have more tolerance than me. But when we talk about the boundary testing game that women play on men, I have zero tolerance. I don't play. I don't give women no room to play with me. If you ain't moving in accordance with how I'm moving, if we're not on the same page, then I'm just closing the chapter on you. I'm out. Like and share.